You dwell in the shelter of the Lord, who abide in his shadow for life. Say to the Lord, my refuge, my rock, in whom I trust, and he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. The snare of the fowler will never capture you, and famine will bring you no fear. Under his wings, your refuge, his faithfulness, your shield, and he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. And for to his angels he's given a command to guide you in all of your ways. Upon their hands they will bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. And he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. And hold you in the palm of his hand.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to our dear teachers. And we are joined this afternoon by the DepEd Central Office NAIA Quality Assurance Team. Welcome to our 3-day activity. This is the first of 4 sessions. So dear participants, dear teachers who are participating in this event, let me give you a few reminders before we start with this afternoon's first session. First po, I hope that by this time you've already accomplished the attendance link posted on our FB group page. So nandun po yun. Kindly click on that link and accomplish that. So you can do it now or later po after our first session. There's also a pre-test self-assessment. It is a Google link, and you will be directed to some questions about your knowledge of mathematics teaching strategies, and so on. So kindly accomplish that also, ideally po before the start of our session. Don't worry about the PowerPoint to be used by our speakers. All of the PowerPoints will be posted on the FB group page for everyone, so you can download it and share it with your friends after po ng every session. So no need to screenshot po while the session is ongoing. Also, the assessment tool, we were talking about it this morning in our orientation program. The assessment tool contains all the 4 outputs for the 4 sessions. So it is in a Word file already also posted on our FB group page. Kindly download it po and save it on your device. And as we move on from session 1 to session 4, we can accomplish one after session 1 assessment after our discussion with our resource speaker. Finally po, the membership link for those who are interested to become members of iLead is also posted on our FB group page. Okay, so it's already 1:29. Allow me to introduce our first session and our speaker also for this afternoon. Session 1, we're going to talk about mathematics teaching from an outcomes-based and learner-centered approach. This is our first session because it lays down the foundation of all the other succeeding sessions. So maganda po na ito muna yung i-revisit natin for this afternoon. This session aims to demonstrate how teachers can align lessons, activities, and outputs using the OBE framework. Furthermore, it seeks to improve existing OBE practices by integrating best practices from the traditional and contextual teaching pedagogy and adapt it to online and face-to-face modes of teaching. Our expected learning outcome for this afternoon is to design lessons, modules, teaching materials that integrate traditional, creative, and the innovative pedagogy. Then, as part of our activity for this afternoon, we have an assessment for this session, which is differentiated. So for the proficient teachers, so these are teachers 1 up. What are the challenges? You're asked to respond to this question. What are the challenges and successes of using the OBE framework in your own classroom? For the highly proficient teachers, you're asked to respond to the question, what strategies can you do to make your lessons more learner-centered? So as we can see, you can easily accomplish this task after listening to our speaker this afternoon. So you are required to answer just one, but if you are inspired to answer both questions, by all means po, you may do so. You can easily accomplish these 2 tasks after our session this afternoon. Okay, let me introduce to you our speaker. For this afternoon, we're lucky to have with us Dr. Mia Torres de la Cruz. Doc Mia holds a PhD in educational management. She specializes in research, information and communications technology, or ICT, education technology, mathematics, statistics and physics, green ICT, sustainability. She's a researcher and educator and consultant at Infinite Dynamic Minds International Research and Consultations at Negeri Sembilan, Malaysia, and at Sairam Institute of Management at Sairam Engineering College at Sai Nagar in India, okay, among her other international connections. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our speaker for this afternoon, Dr. Mia Torres de la Cruz. Doc Mia, the floor is yours.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I think it's a wonderful morning everywhere in the Philippines, right? in our country right now.
Yes.
So I hope you are having a wonderful time. So let me share my screen. Okay. All right. So our topic is on mathematics teaching from an outcomes-based and learner-centered approach. So our learning outcomes for this session would be at the end of our session, we will be able to define learner-centered approach and OBE. And we will also be comparing OBE and MELC. The next one is we will be able to improve our existing practices, by integrating best practices from traditional and contextual teaching pedagogy. And we are going to adopt OBE practices in F2F or face-to-face, online, and modular modes of teaching mathematics. Okay, so let's start with the quote from Galileo Galilei. He said, "If I were again beginning my studies, I would follow the advice of Plato and start with mathematics." So according to Galileo, dapat mathematics muna. Yan, no? So let's start with the learner-centered approach. Ano ba ang learner-centered approach? Here we have some definitions. So learner-centered approach is when we view our learners as active agents. So they are the ones who are active in the learning process. It is opposed to a traditional learning approach where students are considered only responsive to an outside stimuli. It means that whatever the teacher would say, whatever the teacher would give them or tell them to do, that is what they will do. That's the traditional way. So according to Martha Kennedy is from the Library of Congress. She defined learner-centered approach as a classroom dynamic in which the students participate actively while the teacher might take a more passive role. So, well, seemingly passive role. Okay. So, why do we use learner-centered approach? Why learner-centered approach? So, well, there are a lot of theories, a lot of learning theories, pedagogic theories, even not just pedagogy, also andragogy. You know, they say that well, one theme, yung laging lumalabas, no, the outlier is always going into people would learn more, people would retain more information if they are engaged in the learning process. So lahat-lahat ng theories na yon, nandiyan yung engagement. The engagement of the student would help them retain more information. That's why we use learner-centered approach. So here we have the 4 tenets of learner-centered approach. 1, the instruction is personalized. So we teach our students on person-to-person basis. So the second one is students advance as they approach competency. So every time they attain a competency, they will advance. No? They will go to the next level. And then there is flexibility in where or when students would learn. So anywhere they are, whatever situation they are in, there is flexibility. So student input is a factor in the instructional design. Ibig sabihin, they have a contribution in the design of materials, instructional materials. Okay, so here we have the illustration of student-centered learning. So we have your educators, personalization, anytime, anywhere learning, student-directed learning, success criteria, and added to that, they use their prior knowledge, they integrate with their peers, with their family, and with their teachers. No? So that is learner-centered approach in a nutshell. So learner-centered approach is will recognize, okay, it is recognized that although there's a subject content, of course, when we teach, there's always subject content. But yeah, so the subject content, the students must learn. They have to learn in order to pass. But so we assess them through what they have learned. Each student approaches the subject from their own perspective. So it is not anymore what we give them, what we want, no, what we want them to learn. It is what they will learn, what they will need, no, and how they will learn in their own perspective. So like we said a while ago, the learner-centered approach would involve, no? It would involve several factors. They have their unique past experiences, how they understand themselves, their aspirations, the things that they think or they would like to be, no? Their own identities influenced by factors such as gender, age, all the characteristics that would affect how they would learn the content of the subjects or the topics that they are learning. And then their multiple identities inevitably shape their learning. Ibig sabihin, sometimes students would, if you remember the different types, no, identities in which they are able to learn. So they would learn as a, for example, someone doing the work, or they would learn as a listener, or they would learn as a visual participant, and those things. So multiple identities would shape them or would mold their learning experiences. Okay, so yan, no? For mathematics, how do we use learner-centered approach in mathematics? So we create math workshop design in which our students are the center of the learning process. And then number two is we increase or we develop or we improve the student leadership capacity in mathematics. And then we make use of inquiry-based lesson design. This means we ask them, we encourage them to ask questions. We encourage them to find out for themselves some questions that they need to, some answers that would answer their own questions. Then we leverage visual representation. We make use of, kasi nga, sabi nga natin, ngayon, no, our children, this generation, the newer generations, they are more visual, di ba? They are more visual. So let's leverage on visual representation so that they would be able to, we could trigger, no? We would be able to trigger their mathematical thinking. And then we shift from teacher questioning to student voice. So instead of you questioning them, asking them questions, we let them ask questions. And sometimes we let them answer their own questions also. Yan. So that is learner-centered approach for mathematics. There's some more. One by what's the name of this? Bogdan. No? Bogdan in 2011 said that there are strategies, there are student-centered learning strategies in mathematics. Number one, he wanted us to write very detailed lesson plans and then give them to the students and let the students execute them. No? For example, we want them to solve some problems. No? We give very detailed instructions. Then give the instructions to them, then let them do or let them execute the activities by themselves. Huh? Number two, we teach good note-taking skills. Yan, ito yung controversial ngayon. No? Controversial ngayon. Because some of our students don't take notes anymore. Tama ho ba? Do you have the same experience when you are teaching your students? Nakikita nyo, hindi na sila nagno-notebook. Tama ba? Raise your hand or send me a, how do you call this? Send me a, meron bang emoticon sa Zoom? Send me an emoticon. Yes. Si Ma'am, I cannot see. Si Ma'am Marasigan. No? Ma'am Marasigan, what is your experience on note-taking from students?
Good afternoon po. Ma'am, most of the students nowadays don't take notes using pen and paper but they take photos po ng yun pong mga nakasulat sa board or even yun pong mga nakapresent na presentations. They even take videos po of the teachers kapag medyo crucial po yung discussion sa math.
Totoo po yun, no? They use technology. They already have these gadgets that they use instead of taking notes. But, it's good strategy, especially in mathematics po, to teach them good note-taking skills, especially because in mathematics, we retain more, yung good problem-solving skills kapag nagno-notes sila, no? When they take notes. That's why some of our teachers, they require students to take notes. Chine-check pa nga po nila ito. It's not just in high school. They also do this in college already. They require them to take notes kasi nga it's a good strategy for students to really, be able to write down what the teacher would ask them to do. Kasi especially when we are teaching mathematics, no, when we are solving problems, hindi naman pwede yung we let our students lang watch, no? Even actually taking pictures, hindi effective po yun, no? It's much better, according to Bogdan, if students would do note-taking, no? They would do note-taking. They take notes, they write down the formula, they do the problem solving by themselves, and they write down the method, they write down the procedure in problem solving by themselves. So ito po magandang strategy when we are teaching our students mathematics. This is one way to focus our students on learning mathematics. And then, number 3, we keep students motivated. Let's design activities that are fun. No? Let's design activities that are fun. A lot of our teachers, especially in the primary and secondary, they create activities that would integrate, no? I-integrate na nila yung ibang subjects like, for example, arts, no? They will see that students would be more interested, more motivated when they see colors, when they see shapes, or even when they hear, like when they hear music, for example, to make making activities fun in mathematics would make our students be motivated to work on their to learn, no? Be able to learn mathematics. Then let's make tests a real-time learning experience according to Bogdan, no? So real-time learning experience. Ibig sabihin, maybe we can create tests na yung ano ba, practical na siya, no? Practical. Like for example, when we are teaching yung pag-change ng yung changing yung mag-change, magbigay ng change sa pera, for example. I'm not saying bentahan niyo sila, no? Bentahan niyo sila, or I'm not saying you encourage them to sell things to their classmates. But then, it's a good idea, di ba? It's a good idea to for them to learn how to give, no? Yung barya sa pera, no? So let's make it real-time learning experience. Develop creative tests, no? Not just activities, also the assessment. Kailangan creative din siya. Some of our teachers would develop tests like ano ba yun, yung they use game, di ba? Games, they make use of games, they make use of puzzles as assessment tools para ma-motivate yung mga estudyante to complete their assessment tests. Okay, so the last one, but not the least, of course, is grade for learning. Magbigay tayo ng grade sa kanila for their learning. So habang natututo sila, nabibigyan sila ng grade. Wag natin silang bigyan ng grade for like ano ba 'yon? Aesthetics. Ito na naman yung word na ginagamit ng mga kabataan, aesthetics daw, no? Aesthetics. Dahil maganda yung ginawa niya, very neat yung ginawa niya, no? Yung kinukuha na lang niya sa pagandahan. Yung mga ganun ba? Hindi po. Let's give them grades for learning. No? Pag natututo sila, doon natin bigyan ng grade sila. Okay. So that is for learner-centered education or approach. Now we go to outcomes-based education or OBE. So yung OBE po kasi, this is already a standard. This is something that we are required to use dito sa Asia. So in Asia, even in some Western educational system, they use outcomes-based education. So in the British system, in UK, even in Australia, they make use of outcomes-based education. Ang ano lang po, sa US kasi, they started with outcomes-based education, pero for a reason, which very controversial, hininto nila ang outcomes-based education. Okay. However, some of their federal states like Micronesia, for example, they are still using outcomes-based education from primary, no, from kindergarten, actually from K to 12 up to not just not just in undergrad, pati rin sa grad school. They use outcomes-based education sa lahat ng levels, no? So, ano nga ba ang OBE? What is OBE? So, OBE, this is, if we define it, now this is a model of education. It will reject traditional focus. So, kagaya rin ng learner-centered approach, ang OBE will also reject traditional focus or traditional approach in teaching students. What does it do? They favor yung student. They make students demonstrate that they know and able to do whatever the required outcomes are. So in short, OBE is also learner-centered approach, no? So OBE and yung student-centered approach pareho, hindi naman pareho, but it is they are related. So the emphasis of OBE is you have a clear standard for observable, measurable outcomes. So yung outcome should be measurable. It should be observable, nakikita, na-identify natin. Kagaya nga nung, it will go down up to the verbs that we use. No? So in Malaysia po, very strict po sila sa OBE, no? They are very strict in OBE. Even the verbs that they use in the student learning outcome, kailangan yung mga verbs na ginagamit mo measurable. For example, you cannot use understand. You know, in the outcome, at the end of the lesson, the student should understand whatever. No? Kasi daw po, ang understand, hindi siya measurable. So, you will have to use like define, compare, yung mga ganon, no? So, that's why we make use of yung taxonomy, no? The Bloom's taxonomy actually is used in OBE, no? And other taxonomies na gamit natin. But anyway, we emphasize on observable and measurable outcomes. So pag nag-create tayo ng outcome, this should be measurable. Yan, no? Tapos, yung susunod. Okay. What are the key purposes of OBE? Ano bang gamit? Ano bang gamit ng OBE? No? Number one, it will equip all students with the competencies and orientations needed for future success. Yan. So, ang emphasis po natin dito is what do we want our students to be, to become, or what should they learn? No, what should they learn? Ayun, no? So that's the short of it. Implement. We should be able to implement programs and conditions that maximize learning success for all students. Sa OBE po kasi, we want everyone to pass. Yun pong yung no one left behind, nobody left behind. No? So for all students po ito, no? For all students. In other systems, no? In other systems, they have the personalized teaching, so that if one person is among the students, no, like if there are 30 students, isa doon yung hindi siya natututo, bumabagsak siya. At saka hindi nila aantayin, no? They will not wait for the end of the term to identify kung sino yung bumabagsak at pumapasa, no? Meron silang middle of the term na assessment, doon nila nakikita, oops, bumabagsak ito, no? Bumabagsak ito. So what will they do? They would, there is a program, there is yung intervention. There's an intervention so that that person who is failing would catch up para lahat-lahat sila in the end will pass, no? Lahat-lahat sila in the end will pass. In the British system po, no? Sa atin kasi pagka especially in college, ano po. So if you fail, no? Pag na-fail mo yung subject mo, kunwari nag-exam siya, doon sa finals, no? Na-fail niya na-fail na siya like 72 na siya o 70 siya sa final exam, no? Pero pasado naman siya sa prelims, pasado naman siya sa midterms. Finals lang siya bumagsak. Tapos kung i-compute 'yon, bagsak siya talaga. So pagka nangyari na 'yon, no? Yung kinompute yung average. So kapag nangyari 'yon, bagsak na, uulitin na niya yung subject. So in the British system po, hindi ganon, no? So ang mangyayari pag bumagsak siya dun sa exam na yon, bumagsak siya sa finals, magre-re-exam siya. I-re-exam niya yung finals lang po kasi pumasa na siya dun sa prelims tsaka midterm. So yung finals lang ang i-re-exam niya. Pag bumagsak ulit siya, meron na namang chance. Hanggang 3 chances po yun. So hindi nila agad-agad ibabagsak yung estudyante. They will let the student repeat the exam. They will whatever whatever component, no? Kung anong component yung nabagsak niya, yun lang yung uulitin niya, yun lang ang i-re-exam niya. Also, yung re-exam na yan, kunwari yung first, nag-exam siya. Tapos yung second, doon sa first na re-exam niya, bumagsak siya. So bibigyan ulit siya ng, they will give, in OBE, they will give additional parang instruction to the student para hopefully sa second time na kunin niya yung exam or i-take niya yung exam, papasa na siya. Ganon, no? So, yun po yung purpose of OBE. Yun bang gusto nila lahat mapapasa ang subject, no? So ideally ganun yung ginagawa nila. So what is the advantage or what are the advantages of OBE? So OBE is a learner-oriented system. Okay. So yun nga, sabi natin, learner-centered pa rin siya. It would expand the knowledge, basic reasoning capacity, and skill set of learners. So i-identify po natin in OBE kung ano yung outcome na gusto natin, anong skills, what skills should they learn from that particular subject. So it provides a clear idea about their purpose of learning. Yan. It promotes focus on the relevant. So yung importante lang po, no? Yung importante, yung makakapagbigay ng makakapag-contribute. The one that would contribute, they will focus on the ones that would contribute on the student attaining that particular outcome, no? So ito po, sino ho ang naka-experience nung college po tayo, no? Yung magpapa-exam po yung teacher natin, no? Tapos may isang item doon, what is the complete name of your teacher? Sige nga po, or kayo po ba meron pong nagbibigay ng assessment na ganon? What is the complete name of your teacher? Meron po ba? Meron po bang nagbibigay ng or na-experience nyo po ba yon? Ako po na-experience ko when I was in college, some of our teachers would ask us, write down the complete name of your teacher, of your instructor, of your professor. Ganun po. Sino ho sa inyo naka-experience nun? Meron po ba?
Sabi po ni Sir Torre Franca sa high school daw, Doc Mia,
Sa high
meron.
school.
Tapos
Yes,
may mga
ma'am.
raised hands din po kanina.
Opo.
Oo.
Meron po talaga sa college nga po eh. Ako, college ako noon eh. Yung professor namin, hindi siya magpapakilala. Tapos, itatanong niya yon sa exam. Itatanong niya sa exam. Accordingly, no, sa OBE po, hindi ho pwede yun. Because how will it contribute to the outcome, to the learning outcome of the student? So, yun pong ano ba ang importante? Ano ba yung nakaka-contribute dun sa outcome, the attainment of the outcome, the student learning outcome? Ano ba ang nakaka-attain doon? And what are the important things that would help the student attain the outcome that you have set? Yun po. So, yung pangalan mo, hindi yung relevant. Hindi po relevant yung pangalan mo. Alam man niya o hindi yung pangalan mo, doesn't matter. Hindi ho siya, kunwari ang ang outcome natin for the student, at the end of that course, the student will become a successful engineer. Ganun, no? Paano magiging engineer yung estudyante natin kung alam niya yung pangalan mo? Parang ganun ba? Ganun po. So, yun yung focus on the relevant. Importante lang po. Okay. In fact, in some schools they have external verifiers, no? So the external verifier will check the exam. Check niya po yung exam ninyo if all the contents or all the questions would contribute. Each question in your assessment would contribute in the attainment of the outcome. So the second one, it would increase students' thinking ability. Learners are assessed on an ongoing basis. Sometimes nga po the assessment is hindi lang po preli, midterm. Meron po tayong formative, meron po tayong summative, may mga ganon, no? So the assessment is ongoing, hindi siya periodic. Then next, content is coordinated. Yung nga sabi natin sa inyo kanina, the assessment, naka-coordinate po lahat yan. Yung activities, naka-coordinate dun sa learning outcome. Yung mga tanong, yung mga questions, yung ibibigay mong activity, yung i-lecture mo sa kanila, dapat coordinated po siya. No? It is based on the student learning outcome. Learning is important and associated with genuine circumstances. So, practical siya. No? Practical at saka hands-on. Okay. It expands students' adaptability and flexibility. Kaya nga yung OBE nga po, parang we have found out that it is very effective nung pandemic. No? Nung pandemic. I remember in our university in Malaysia, we were already doing blended learning, no? Blended learning. Nag-start po kami ng blended learning in 2015, no? We started blended learning in 2015. Tapos naka-prepare na po lahat, no? All lessons were already prepared. Meron hong kaming learning center, okay? Learning center, they are tasked to develop yung lectures, yung mga PowerPoint, yung mga assessment, mga quizzes, lahat po yan. Coordinated po lahat yan, no? So, naka-base po lahat yan doon sa learning outcome. So, nung dumating ang pandemic, hindi na ho kami na problema sa paggawa ng modules kasi nagawa na po. Nagawa na siya. Naka-coordinate na siya sa learning outcome. Yan po, no? So, it expands students' adaptability and flexibility. Yun nga, no? Even our lecturers, our teachers, nakapag-adapt sila kaagad sa pandemic. Ayun. So, ito po yung characteristics or principles pala. Principles of OBE. Number 1, clarity of focus. So, very clear. Very clear po dapat yung focus natin on the significant outcomes. We design down from ultimate culminating outcomes. We have our high expectations. We will have high expectations for high-level success. Tapos, expanded opportunities and support for learning success. So, let's look at each one of these principles. Una, clarity of focus on significant outcomes. Sabi dito, with OBE, we have a clear focus on the ultimate learning results. Kasi nga po, yung outcome natin, ito yung gusto nating maging yung mga estudyante natin. Tama ba yung Tagalog ko? Sorry po, Ilocano kasi. Okay, so we have a clear focus. We have this, we have identified what are the outcomes, no? What are the outcomes that we want the student will attain. Yun po, no? Yung pangalawa, there is continuous sharing, continuous explanation, and modeling of that clear focus with the students from the very beginning of any learning experience. Kaya nga po in OBE, we require yung rubrics, no? Yung matrix of marking, yung mga ganon, no? Kasama po yan para very clear siya. So ito yung gusto natin, no? Ito yung kung ginawa mo dito, kung ginawa mo ito with this criteria, no? Ito yung makukuha mong marks. Ganun po. Kaya very important ang rubrics, or what we call the matrix of marking, para alam nila kaagad na, ito yung ginawa ko eh. Ito yung ginawa ko. So we share that to our students. So we keep all instruction and assessment directly aligned and consistent with that desired result. Yung outcome na gusto natin. Mamaya po ipapakita natin ang sample, no? I want to show you a sample of a grade 1, no? Grade 1 mathematics outcome, student learning outcome. And we will see there na dun dapat natin i-align yung mga lessons na ibibigay natin. Okay. The second one, design down from ultimate outcomes. So we design curriculum, learning experiences, and instructions systematically back from that ultimate desired end. So ang i-design natin yung lahat ng activities, lahat ng sasabihin natin, ibibigay natin sa kanila to that outcome, yung ultimate outcome na yan, no? Yun nga po, yung sinasabi natin, especially sa grade 12 po, di ba? May mga strand tayo. Grade 12. Senior high pala. Sa senior high, may mga strand tayo, no? And our strand, yung strand na yun, is directed to the profession that the student would want to pursue, no? So yun yung desired end natin. Kung ang estudyante gusto niyang maging politician, for example, no? Meron tayong political science, ganun ba yun? Ganun ba yun? Anyway, so we have the strands and we are able to identify kung ano yung gustong path na kunin ng estudyante, no? And there is what we call the ultimate outcome, yung ultimate outcome of each program. especially when they go now to college, doon na makikita na natin yung, okay, gusto kong maging engineer. So ano ba yung mga skills na nakakailanganin mo para maging engineer ka? Or gusto kong maging entrepreneur, no? So ano ba yung mga skills na kakailanganin mo para maging entrepreneur ka? Yun yung sinasabi nating ultimate outcome. So we design everything towards that outcome that we identify. The next one, putting in place the enabling skills that provide a clear pathway to that end and always keeping it in sight. So with OBE kasi, nandun naka-narrow down yung ating pedagogy so that the ultimate outcome will be attained. Then we have high expectations for high-level success. So because we already have this outcome, ito na yung expectations natin. So we will establish and consistently employ high expectations on every student's ability to eventually reach those ultimate learning results. Yan. So yun na nga, yung high expectations natin na to, ito yung magko-contribute so that the students will attain that outcome that we have set. Then we insist that no student is to be written off as incapable of learning successfully. Yun, going back to our previous discussion about yung no one left behind. So lahat ng estudyante, no, is capable, no? Capable of learning successfully. Wala pong bobo sa atin, no? In OBE, wala hong bobo. Yung word na bobo, hindi ho existing yan in OBE because everyone is capable of learning successfully. Kaya nga po, meron tayo ng personalization, no? In the learner-centered approach kasi gusto natin na ilabas yung capability niyang matuto, no? Yan. So that is high expectations. Then we have expanded opportunities and support. So we expand the number, range, and kinds of opportunities that students are given to learn and ultimately demonstrate their learning successfully. So we have, especially now, we already have the technology. We have opportunities, new opportunities, so that we can give, more platforms for students to demonstrate their learning. The next one is, this requires that time be viewed and used as a flexible resource, not as a calendar and a schedule-bound definer of the educational process. I was watching, I forgot yung sa ano po, from De La Salle, he's one of Dr. Nukumba po ba yun? He said, we must learn to use time as a resource, hindi as a calendar. Sabi pa po niya, we also must learn to develop our curriculum. We must learn to design our activities by developing or identifying outcomes and not objectives. Po. Outcomes dapat, hindi siya objective. Yan. So yun yung opportunities and support natin. So looking at this illustration, ito po yung traditional way. No? Ito yung nasa taas, sa baba pala. No? Nasa baba ang traditional, ito yung sa OBE. So sa OBE, curriculum is planned and designed according to the needs of today's students. Yan. Doon sa traditional, sabi dito, pare-pareho yung curriculum. The curriculum is passed from previous generation to next generation. But there are already curriculums that are not anymore relevant to the needs of our students today. So in the traditional way, teachers are focused on completing the syllabus by the end of the session. O sino pa po sa inyo ang gumagawa nito? Yung, ay, kailangan tapusin ko yung syllabus. Nako, hindi ko pa natatapos yung gano'n, no? Apparently, ano yun, that is already the traditional way, no? Ang uso na ngayon, is focusing, no? Teachers are focused on helping students develop new skills. Yan po, no? Tapos, traditional way, students' knowledge is assessed as per their obtained grade. Yung grade na binibigay sa kanila, hindi siya, it's not based on what they have learned. No? Yung sa OBE po kasi, the assessment is done on levels that would track their learning and skills. So they will see, okay, is the student learning? Does he have skills already? Ganun, no? Yung ganun sa OBE. Doon sa traditional, yung basta they will obtain the grade lang, ganyan, no? So yun po yung ating traditional learning and OBE. So according to curriculum planning and design, teaching process, and the final outcome assessment. Yan. So during the pandemic po, our students were, DepEd has required us to use the MELC, no? Yung MELC. Ano po ba yung MELC? The most essential learning competencies. Kasi nga po, kulang na yung time at saka resources at saka yung circumstances for us to complete the whole teaching curriculum for our students. So we made use of the most essential learning competencies. So the MELC is competency-based approach. Okay, so we want our students to attain, no, the learning competencies that we consider as essential. Yung pinaka-essential siya, no, by principle. So this is in response to develop resilient education systems during emergencies, and the pandemic, no, is considered an emergency. And then this enabled DepEd to focus instruction on the most essential and indispensable competencies due to the existing crisis. Yan. Before we continue po, no? So yung mga teachers natin who experienced using most essential learning competencies, hingi nga po ako ng feedback sa inyo about MELC. So what do you think po? What can you say about our MELC? Ano po masasabi natin tungkol sa MELC? Successful ho ba ito or may mga problema ho ba sa MELC?
Dear teachers, pwede po natin gamitin yung raise hand icon or pwede pong ilagay natin sa chat yung ating sharing.
Opo. Sige na po. Walang pilitan pero sige na po. Ay, Ma'am Garcia. Thank you po, Ma'am Garcia.
Sa mathematics po, ang alam ko, yung mga sa mga MELCs po, parang konti lang po yung pinag-compress po. Pero the same as the curriculum guide pa rin.
Oh, okay po.
Ano natin, yung curriculum guide natin, the same as MELCs pa rin po. Konti lang po yung kinompress.
Oh,
Para dun
okay.
sa ano natin, competencies.
Yes. Thank you, Ma'am Garcia. Sino pa po? Anyone else po who...
Doc Mia, can you see the chat box?
Yes, ma'am.
Meron pong, ayan, kung nakikita niyo po siya.
Yes. Sabi po ni Ma'am, hindi ko makita, sadali lang po. Si Ma'am Joy, Hazel Joy, sabi niya, in the senior high school general math subject, some MELCs are repeating. Ano ang ibig niyo sabihin repeating, ma'am? Ma'am Andikoy? Okay. From Sir Tony Francia ba ito? Sir ba? Okay, so sabi
Torre
niya,
Franca po
Torre
yan.
Franca. We made use of MELC, but in math, wala naman talagang nawalang competency. Tama po. And then, si Sir TG, sabi niya, there are quarters na masyadong compressed po ang mga learning competency.
Yes, same comment po kay Sir Aldrin. Pag nag-merge po, mini-merge po yung competencies and then masyadong compressed. So it turns out na kulang yung time. So yan po yung mga issues nila with MELC. But they're still
Yes.
using MELC according to Sir Tamayo.
Yes, that's correct. Actually, yung comparison po natin sa MELC, kasi nga po ang MELC competency based, and it is parang OBE na rin po siya. It is our equivalent, no? Equivalent to OBE. Ito po. So let's see how let's see the difference between competencies and outcomes. So kasi papalit lang po ito yung competency at saka outcome, you know. Ang competency po, these are the desired knowledge, skills, and behaviors of a student graduating from a program or completing a course. So ang outcome naman, this describes exactly what a student will be able to do in some measurable way. Kasi measurable dapat ang outcome, no? Pangalawa, competency will commonly define the applied skills and knowledge that enable people to successfully perform in professional, educational, and other life contexts. No, so ang outcome naman, there may be more than one measurable outcome to define a given competency. So sa isang competency, pwedeng maraming outcome, no, measurable outcome. So maybe it's safe to say na ang competency, marami siyang outcome. No? So ang outcome, it should be written so that it can be measured or assessed. No? So yun po ang difference ng competency and outcome. So parang mas general yung competency. Ang outcome, specific siya. Yun po. No? Then, example.
Doc Mia, meron pong additional comments.
Yes.
Sabi po ni Ma'am Fatima, in general math po, almost the same yung MELCs sa LCs ng curriculum guide. Ang dami po. And then, Sir Torre Franca adds, yes, sobrang dami po talaga ng competency sa math compared to other subjects, lalo na sa grade 8.
Oo nga po. No? So, yes, that's true. Imagine niyo po, no, yung isang competency, let's say tatlo ang outcome niya, ganyan. No? So talagang marami po. Mas marami pa po kapag sa OBE natin ilalagay. Kaya lang po, in what we do in OBE, especially in yung lower levels, like so grade 1, grade 2, ganyan, no? We specify, pero parang general pa rin. Nililimit na rin po. Kasi nga po ang MELC, for MELC, the idea is to identify ano yung pinaka-importante. Yun lang po, no? Ano ba yung pinaka-importante? So that is the one that we focus on, no? But in outcome, ano ba yung gusto nating ma-attain nila. What is it that we want them to attain? In parang based on the identified ultimate outcome. No? So yun nga, kung gusto nilang maging scientist, for example, gusto nilang maging scientist. So doon sa math, ano ba ang competency or ano ba ang skills, no? Ano ang skills na dapat meron sila para maging scientist sila. Ganon, no? So yun yung ating OBE. So ang example dito, no, ito yung example natin. Critical and creative thinking. No? So ito yung competency natin. Pero ang outcome ito. They should be able to read critically. They should be able to ask detailed, relevant, and probing questions. They should recognize differences between opinions and facts. They should express aesthetic appreciation and insight. Yan po ang example. No? That's the example of competency tsaka outcome.
Doc Mia, there are more sharing on the chat. I'll read them for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Sabi po ni Sir Sherwin or Bon, there are subjects that need to be discussed, subtopics, that need to be discussed first before you actually attain the learning competency specified in the MELCs. Sabi naman po ni Sir Aldrin, actually, ang hirap daw magturo ngayon, ang daming learning loss.
Yes. Sir Aldrin, yun nga po yung purpose ng OBE, no? Yung bang i-identify talaga kung ano yung outcome na ano ba yung learning outcome na gusto natin para wala siyang naiiwan, walang loss, walang gap. Ganun po, no? So kagaya nito, so ang competency nga po is critical and creative thinking. So sabi nga ni Sir Torrefranca, ang dami-dami namang ano niyan eh. Ang dami actually niyang subtopic, no? Tama ba? Tama po ba? Yung critical and creative thinking. Pero sa outcome mo po kasi, in-identify mo itong 4. So itong 4 na to, dito ka lang mag-focus. Yan. Dito ka lang gagawa ng mga activities mo, yung content mo based lang on these outcomes na in-identify natin. Yan. So, yun pong ibang yung they should be able to write critically, yung mga gano'n, no? Wala siya dyan. So, hindi na natin idadagdag yun. Kasi, yung sa critical and creative thinking, ito lang yung mga outcome na in-identify natin. Yan po. So, another example po later, sa math naman, specific sa math, sa lower grades. Yan. Grade 1, actually. Ayan. So, sa DepEd, ito yung twin goals natin sa math, no? For K-12. We have critical thinking and problem solving. Hindi po ba? Ito yung twin goals natin. Di ba? Ito yung sinabi nila, dapat ito yung goal natin na competency. Critical thinking and problem solving. Yan po, no? There is an international standard. There are international standards according to subjects po. Ito siya. So these are international mathematics standards. Ito siya, no? Numbers and operations. Number 1, numbers and operations. So students should be able to understand the number system, the meaning of operations, and how they relate to each other, and are able to use computational tools and strategies effectively. Hindi ho ba, very familiar yan? Isn't this very familiar? Kasi po, sa MELC, ganito rin po yung nakalagay. Tama po ba ako? So, students should understand the number system, the meaning of operations, and how they should relate to each other, and they are able to use computational tools and strategies effectively. Yan po ang international mathematics standards ng numbers and operations. Sa geometry naman po, no? Sa geometry. Again, this is in the lower years, no? But of course, this also is applied up to 12. grade 12. So geometry, students understand geometry and spatial relationships, specifically understanding the properties of objects and relationships among properties, and use transformations and symmetry to analyze mathematical situations. Yan po, no? Then, we go to the next one, measurement. Yan. Sa measurement, ang standard po ganito. So students should understand the purpose and application of various systems of measurement, including how to develop and use techniques, tools, and formulas for measuring the properties of objects. And, dalawa pa po pala. We have patterns and algebra. Ito po siya. The various types of patterns, functional relationships, use symbolic forms, how they would model, how they would analyze mathematical situations, mga ganon po, no? And how they would represent data to answer questions. Yan po. Mukhang meron po tayong, okay. Basahin din po natin yung sinabi ni Sir TG. Sabi niya, because of learning losses, hindi nasusunod ang MELCs kasi kailangan balikan ang mga basic skills. Tama po siya. Sabi rin po ni Sir Aldrin, general math and pre-cal handle ko. Kailangan ko pa bumalik sa topics ng grade 8. Yan. Ito po yan. No? So, actually, the past 2 years, talaga hong ganun. No? Medyo nagkulang. We admit it, nagkulang po yung kailangan nilang matutunan. Yan. Anyway, so ito yung patterns and algebra. Tapos, the last one, yung statistics and probability. Ito po yung 5 na international mathematics standards po. So statistics and probability, they should be able to know how or understand how to interpret data. Yung methods of exploratory data analysis, develop and evaluate inferences, predictions and arguments. Kaya nga po in our statistics and probability, yung binibigay na po natin sa kanila yung ano ba yung qualitative, ano ba yung quantitative, ano ba yung mga methods na gagamitin natin in quantitative, paano ba tayo how are we going to interpret, yung mga ganon, and how are we going to create inferences and those things. So, yun po yung standards natin, international standards. So, ito rin po ang ginagamit na natin as basis na for developing competencies or how to develop competencies and how to identify outcomes. Yan. So, bago po ako tumuloy, ipapakita ko po yung sample. No? Magpapakita po ako ng sample. Saan ba siya? Yan. Nakikita niyo po ba ito? Yung standard 1, numbers, operations, and computations. Can you see po?
Yung slide pa rin ng International Mathematics Standards yung nasa screen.
Ay, okay. May I stop and then share again po?
Go ahead po.
Ayan po. So this is for grade 1 po. No? This is for grade 1. Can you see po yung standard 1? Teka, let
Yes
me
po,
increase
visible.
para makita ng maigi. Ayan. So standard 1 for numbers, operations, and computations for elementary grade 1. Yan po, no? So sa grade 1 po yan. So ang standard natin, use English and local systems to count, read, write, and compare whole numbers up to 200. Yan po. So ito po yung learning outcome natin. So we count and identify numbers from 0 to 200 in the local language. So dito na po pumapasok yung ating mother tongue. No? Mother tongue. Pero in B, you can see din po na count and identify numbers from 0 to 200 in English. So hindi lang po mother tongue, kasama rin po ang English. Yan. So write numbers from 0 to 200 in both the local language and English. Kasi nga po, in other countries, yung pagsulat ng number, meron po silang sariling writing system, di ba? Sa atin naman pare-pareho, kahit Tagalog or English, Tagalog or English, pareho rin naman po yung writing natin, no? So pati kahit anong local language, we write the same way. Yung ano lang po, yung the local language, yung how we say it, di ba? Yun lang po ang magkaiba. And then we compare whole numbers less than 200. Then we count from 1 to 10 using local counting systems. Yun po. So yan that is how we develop our student learning outcomes. Tapos, any activity na po dyan, like for example, there are counting songs, di po ba? May mga counting songs po tayo. Dito na natin siya, based on this, doon na natin siya, na natin sila ipapasok, no? So, yung pag-count ng yung mga, ano ba yun? Mga local, ano kung tawag natin doon? Yung local counting songs. Hindi ko na alam po yun. Basta meron po sa YouTube, ang dami ko pong nakita doon, using local language. So, kung Pangasinan, Ilocano, meron pong mga ganon. So, maybe we can inject it here na. We can already inject it here. So, ganun po. That's an example. No? Ito pa po. So, this is another standard. Understand base 10 by identifying place value of numbers up to 100. So, I think this one is already in grade 2 or something. So, ito po yung learning outcome niya. Name the number of tens or ones in a set and write the standard numeral. No? So, marami pa po. Yung basic operations, ayan po siya. May learning outcome siya. Then, yung represent whole numbers and operations, ito naman po yung learning outcome niya. Then we go to, so ganun pa, marami pa po, no? Let's try naman sa geometry. Sa geometry, measurement, and transportation. So identify and classify 2 to 3 dimensional shapes. Kita niyo po, no? Ito po yung standard natin. So ito yung ating outcomes, no? Ito yung outcomes natin. So identify and name the basic geometric figures, square, triangles, rectangles, etc. Ganun po. So what do you think of this po? What do you think of these examples? Mas clear po ba siya than our MELC? What do you think po? Feedback.
You may use the raise hand icon po or the chat box, dear teachers.
Okay. Sa chat po, Ma'am Villordon says it is more specific. Tama po. Tama po. Very specific ho siya. So yan po actually ang OBE. So actually mahirap lang po ang OBE sa simula. Sa simula kasi i-identify po ito, you will go through the process of internal and external verifying. After nun, tuloy-tuloy na po 'yan. Hindi na po siya hindi na po mahihirapan kapag meron na, pagka na-identify na po lahat. Ang ano na lang po is evaluation. I-evaluate pa po 'yan, ganyan. And aside from evaluation in OBE, meron po tayong yung assessment, yung i-check po nila in a long-term basis. Checking it in a long-term basis. Sa college po, itatrace po nila ang alumni, no? Yun bang OBE na itinuro natin nung 5 years ago? Effective ba siya doon sa mga professionals? Na, after 5 years, are they practicing? Are they practicing the OBE? Are they practicing the outcome that they have attained? Ganun po. Yes, sabi po ni Sir Ian, Sir Aldrin muna, sabi niya po, same thing as unpacking MELC. Yes po. And sabi naman po ni Sir Ian Villarreal, very attainable and more on building basic skills, which is the enabling competencies for higher education. Yes, sir. Yun po ang OBE. So actually, this is only for grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. We also have this. We also apply the standards po to the higher level of education hanggang grade 12. Iba naman po sa college na. Sa college, ganun din po OBE, pero syempre ang outcome po natin dyan ay yung professional objective na, no? The professional outcome pala, the professional outcome. So gusto niyang maging civil engineer, okay? Ito yung mga outcomes. Gusto niyang maging medical doctor, then these are the outcomes. Ganun po yun. No? So yun po ang ating example for student learning competencies. Sandali lang po, i-close ko lang po and then balik po ako sa presentation ko. May I share again po?
Go ahead, Mamiya.
Ayan. So dito po tayo nag-end. We stopped here. So let's go to the next, our next, how do you call this? Slide. All right. Sa next slide po natin, these are the skills and processes in math. Ito po yung mga basis natin for developing our outcomes. So knowing and understanding, estimating, computing and solving, visualizing and modeling, representing and communication, conjecturing, reasoning, proving and decision making, tapos applying and connecting. Kaya nga po, alam nyo, kahit ano pong, 'di ba, even in our in senior high. Sa senior high po, whatever the strand, meron po tayong meron tayong entrepreneurial mind. Tama po ba ako? We have entrepreneurial mind. Kasi kahit na ang gusto po natin, ang gusto po ng education system natin kahit anong area ka, no? Whatever area you are, whichever area you are, you must know how to create, no, or how to get into business. Di po ba? Kasi ano na rin po 'yon, parang yung teaching our students to be to be able to look after themselves financially later on by pwede silang maging entrepreneur on that particular area. Ganun po, no? So kaya meron tayong applying and connecting. So how do we apply math, for example? Or how do we apply STEM to business? When later on, kunwari, gusto nilang mag-put up ng business, how are they going to apply the strand na kinuha nila? Okay, kahit Humes kunwari ang kanilang strand, they still have entrepreneurial mind para ma-apply nila yung Humes to ma-apply nila yung entrepreneurial skills, no, with their own direction of profession. Ganun po. Ayan. So, sabi ho natin, kanina, no, in OBE kasi, we need to make sure that all our outcomes are measurable. They should be measurable. They should be clear and measurable. Ayan. So, in order to do that, we follow some taxonomies. Ang pinaka-common po na taxonomy is Bloom's taxonomy. Hindi po ba? Alam na po natin to, di ba? Ito po yung number 1 na tinuturo sa atin nung college dun sa education, no? Bloom's taxonomy. Kaya lang, this is the 2001 version by Anderson and Krathwohl. Kasi iba po yung version nung 1956. The Bloom's taxonomy in 1956, medyo hindi na siya, it is not anymore relevant. Some of the areas are not anymore relevant to today's requirements, no? So we have the Bloom's taxonomy na bago. This is the version 2001. So it would this is composed of create, evaluate, analyze, apply, understand, and remember. Yan. So ito siya, no? It is very important to use the Bloom's taxonomy verbs. Yan. Para sigurado nating measurable. So in remembering, ito yung mga verbs na ginagamit natin according to Bloom's taxonomy. Tsaka when understanding, tsaka ang Bloom's taxonomy po kasi is hierarchical, di ba? Meron siyang level. Tama po ba ako? Yan, yes. It is hierarchical na for grade 1, kunwari, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, it should be more on remembering. Yan. Pero pagka nasa senior high na siya, meron na siyang application dapat. Application, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So ito po ay hierarchical, or it is going, it is scalable, kumbaga, no? Scalable, where creating is the highest level. Then, we also have the Fink's taxonomy. Anong pagkakaiba? What's the difference between Bloom's taxonomy and Fink's taxonomy? Unang-una, ang Fink's taxonomy po ay non-hierarchical. Wala ho siyang level. So any of the elements, no, pwede mong gawin first or ganon. We do not follow a hierarchy, baga. And this is Fink's taxonomy in detail. So ito, di ba? Ito na yung mga seminar ho natin, no? Di ba? Yung learning how to learn, learning how to unlearn pa po, di ba? So learning how to learn, becoming a better student, inquiring about subjects, self-directing learners. Yan po yung learning how to learn. Tapos yung foundational knowledge, ano yung understanding and remembering information and ideas. Tapos application, ganun din po, meron din po siyang application. And then we have the integration, connecting ideas, people, realms of life. Tapos human dimension, learning about oneself. No? Learning about oneself and about others. Tapos caring. Developing new feelings, interests, and values. So yun po ang Fink's taxonomy. So depende po dun sa sistema, pwede ho ninyong gamitin one or the other. Yan po, no? So depende ho kung ano ang mas fit sa inyong needs. Pero kami po, we're using Bloom's taxonomy. Ayan. So OBE and digital modular learning. Why are we learning this? Kasi yun nga po, nauso na po yung blended learning, hybrid learning, yung ganun po, no? So OBE is also good in modular system. So the benefits of OBE modular system po ay itong mga to. Number one, it follows the principles of outcome-based learning. So each module ensures the attainment of desired outcomes. So yung outcome na in-identify natin, the module will have to be aligned. All the contents, all the assessments should be aligned to the desired outcome. Number two, the grading system allows for expanded opportunities to pass modules within a course. So pwede po siyang, kasi nga modular siya, pwede na siyang kumbaga, pag na pass mo na yung isa, pwede ka nang pumunta dun sa susunod, no? Hindi yung pag na-fail mo yung isang module, failed na buong course. Hindi ho yun. Hindi ho ganon. So OBE system po, you pass modules within a course. By module po siya, no? By module. Number 3, there's an independent grading system where students will be given a mark based on their performance per module. Ito po yung sinasabi ko, na it doesn't matter if you failed one module, yun lang uulitin mo. Hindi mo na uulitin yung buong course. No? So, yan po ang ating modular learning through OB. Yan. Ay, meron pa po pala. Ito pala, number 4, the course can be implemented on a one faculty per module or team teaching mode. So po pwede tayong mag-collaborate. Pwedeng collaboration. Pwedeng collaborative ang course. And then number 5, it offers time-flexible and self-paced remedial modules. It will be conducted online so students can take them simultaneously with advanced course modules. So pwede siyang self-paced. Huh? So kumbaga hybrid po siya. The student can work on his own or can ask for assistance from the facilitator. Yan po. No? Ayan. So sa math, learner-centered math module, clear objectives, connect to student experiences, allow for multiple solving pathway, and it would encourage productive struggle. Yan. Ito po, yung value of mathematics. Bakit ba kailangan natin magturo ng mathematics? Bakit po ba yung nga sabi po ninyo, yung mga math subjects po natin, kokonti lang yung na-compress. Kasi according to DepEd, the value of mathematics as a learning area should not be confined in the classroom or any learning space. So it is applicable to real-life world problems and should be dealt with depth and breadth in order to create meaning. Yan po yung according to DepEd. Ayan. So I will end with this saying, it is not what we want to teach. Totoo naman po, di ba? It's not what we want to teach. It is what the students should learn. Yun po. Ang OBE. Yan. So, these are the references that I've used for this presentation. Ayan. Thank you very much po, and I am open for questions. Yeah.
Thank you, Doc Mia. We open the floor now for questions for the open forums, or if you want to share something, meron po kayong gustong share not only with our resource speaker but also with the other teachers participating this afternoon. Kanina po na-raise natin dun sa discussion natin ng MELCs, yung sobrang pagka-compress ng learning outcomes. And also yung learning loss. No? So these are important issues because I think in the chat box, some of our teachers shared that they would have to go back to lessons that are in the lower grades. For example, nagtuturo ka ng grade 8, kailangan mong balikan yung lessons sa lower grades because you cannot proceed. No? Kasi may learning loss yung student, so hindi niya pwedeng basta na lang skip. No? What's your take on this, Doc Mia, while we're waiting for our teachers to share?
Through observations po, it's true. Talaga pong medyo mahirap. Mahirap pong the teaching in mathematics during the pandemic. Talagang napakahirap po. No? I have seen a lot of our math teachers struggling talaga to make sure that everyone will learn the most basic, kahit yung most basic lang po, no? Talagang struggling po ang ating mga teachers natin. Pero maybe we should be grateful na na bumalik na yung face to face, kasi at least pagka face to face po, yung yung personalized teaching natin doon magkikick in. Di ho ba? Kasi during our modular teaching po, there's no way that we can do personalized teaching, no? Tama po ba ako? Yung mga math teachers po diyan, nahirapan ho ba kayo dun sa during that time, yung walang face to face, yung tatanungin po tayo ng mga estudyante natin online, ma'am, paano ho ba ito? Hindi ko ho maintindihan. So it's so difficult for us to really teach them, no? Teach them the things that they want to learn more. Ganun po. So hopefully the return to our face to face, kahit na MELC pa rin po yung ginagamit natin, still makakatulong talaga when we are face to face and we are able to teach them one to one, yung mga tsaka yung presence mo, kahit na hindi mo tuturuan yung estudyante one to one, yung presence po natin, no? Our presence po talaga is very important na yung sa pagtuturo. I mean, for them to learn their lessons. I mean, the mathematics principles na kailangan nila.
Yes, let me just read, Doc Mia, some of the comments. Nag-agree po sila Sir Reggie, Sir Aldrin, and Ma'am Jocresa. There's a comment here po from Sir Jose. He says, mahirap talaga pag modular learning modalities. And Sir Aldrin adds that it's a domino effect. Pag di nakuha yung first lesson, hirap na makamove on. And then Sir Carlos says, the absence of direct instruction during the implementation of modular learning affects the acquisition of learners in math. So I think they agree. No? I hope Doc Mia, na
So,
ano
yun.
lang to, yung learning loss ay effect ng lack of interaction in the classroom. So sana
I think
hindi siya out because of the MELC or because of the curriculum, but because of the modality.
Yes,
Lang
ma'am.
po sana.
Ideally po, yung MELC is effective, no? Effective po siya kasi talagang in-extract naman po nila yung the ones that we really need, yung talagang kailangan po natin. I think it's effective, the MELC. Yun nga lang po, yung pag-implement. I think it's the implementation that has a problem. Yun po. Siguro, hopefully, during the face-to-face process na po ng education, dito po natin makikita yung effect ng MELC.
Yung
Effectivity.
positive, opo,
Yes,
yung
the
positive
effectivity.
side
Yes.
niya. Yes po.
Correct.
Let me read other comments, Doc Mia. Well, dear teachers, pwede nyo rin pong gamitin yung raise hand icon para po makapag-interact tayo more directly with Doc Mia. But anyways po, babasahin ko po yung nasa chat. Ma'am Kezel Joy says, yes po ma'am, it was so hard to address their math-related concerns since our mode of communication is only via FB Messenger. So Messenger po ang ginagamit na interaction. And then Ma'am Rose says, actually, there is this 8-week curriculum in mathematics, Filipino in English, which is being implemented here in Iriga City Division, Region 5. The objective is to confine the non-readers and non-numerates in a learning recovery center, which focuses on teaching, understanding numbers, and reading. So I think initiative po nila to, Doc Mia. What is your...
this is a very good initiative po, no? Maybe you can share with us later on po. You can share with other regions siguro kasi mukhang maganda ho ito. This is also practiced in other countries po, yung COI. Ibig sabihin ng COI. parang it's a system po na kapag ang estudyante medyo naglalag behind, parang bibigyan ho sila ng they will give them additional instruction, additional materials para makahabol sila. When both po ito in the primary and secondary levels, meron ho silang ganito, meron din po sila, and this one is a very good initiative. Meron ho silang tignan po natin, meron silang parang center, no? It's a very good incentive po.
Maybe si Ma'am Rose po baka gusto niyang i-describe po para sa atin, ba makuha din pong best practice ito ng mga teachers natin. Ma'am Rose, would you like to share with us?
Para benchmark po natin.
Yes po.
Benchmark po natin, ma'am.
Ma'am Rose?
Hello po, good afternoon po.
Hi. Hi, ma'am. Go ahead po.
Opo. Clear po ba, ma'am, yung
Naririnig naman po, ma'am.
Dito po, ma'am, sa Iriga City division, during po during this first quarter, nagkakandak po kami ng 8-week curriculum. Yung 8-week curriculum po, there are 3 subjects only: mathematics, English, and Filipino. Actually, I am a high school teacher, junior high school teacher, and we have identified the non-readers and non-numerates for each class. And then after that, kaya po siya 8-week curriculum kasi po within 8 weeks, yung curriculum po or yung focus lang ng studies nila doon sa Learning Recovery Center, ayun lang pong yun lang pong mathematics, yung English and Filipino. As in, starting po sila sa understanding numbers like counting from 0 to 100, 100 to 500, ganun lang po talaga. Kasi sad to say, yun po talaga yung biggest impact ng pandemic natin. Nagkaroon po ng gap talaga sa learning, especially po in mathematics. Yun po yung practice po dito sa actually, Region 5 po ang nag-initiate po nung curriculum, nung project. Yan po, ma'am.
Thank you po, Ma'am Rose. So, essentially po, ang ginagawa po, hinihiwalay sila from the rest of the students, ma'am, no? Na okay naman, who can cope. So, they have a separate curriculum being implemented for 8 weeks. Tama po ba?
Opo. Nakahiwalay po talaga sila sa classroom nila. Hinihintay po namin sila umaga at hapon kasi kailangan po talaga ng dapat rigid yung yung atap, yung pagturo sa kanila, ganun.
Thank you, Ma'am Rose.
Thank you po.
Thank you po.
Yeah, thank you po, Ma'am Rose. And maybe we can use it as benchmark. We can use it as benchmark then for other programs. It's a very good program po.
Akala ko po kanina, Doc Mia, yung mga early grades, yung reference ni ma'am. So, junior high school, that means even in the junior high school level, meron pa rin ganitong mga issues. And it's good po that they are implementing this to help our non-readers and non-numerates cope with lessons in the junior high school. Hindi rin naman po siguro effective na like you merge them in the same class and then they lag behind their peers. Tapos ipopromote lang natin ang ipopromote. So magkakaroon po talaga ng problema. Mas malaking problema pag ganon.
Mm-hmm. It's a very good program po, yun dun sa idea of nobody left behind.
Yes, yes.
Kasi yung nobody left behind po, this originated from the US system po, no? From US system. Pero sad to say, yung nobody left behind ng US, hindi na po yun pina-follow ngayon. Tayo na po ang tayo na po yung parang we are adopting that now in our system. Ang problema lang po dun sa nobody left behind sa atin, ang nangyayari, pinapasa na lang po, di ba? Pinapasa na lang po natin even when they do not know how to read. Kaya nga po, there are incidents na yung nasa junior high school na hindi pa rin po marunong magbasa, hindi pa po marunong magbilang, ganyan. Because of that, nobody left behind na principle. Okay. Although ang ano po kasi nung nobody left behind, yun nga po sana yung personalized teaching. Na kapag na-identify po natin na slow learner tong bata na to, we give more effort. Ganyan. We give more effort para makahabol siya. Ganyan. Kasi we do understand that there are students who have learning disabilities. Yung bang meron din po tayong mga ngayon lang po maybe in the previous decade na realize po natin yung dyslexis ang tawag doon, ma'am?
Dyslexia po.
Dyslexia,
yeah.
Dyslexia learning disability as a learning disability. So yun po, yung kailangan po nating i-adjust yung teaching natin for the student. Yun po yung principle of learner-centered approach.
Doc Mia, may maganda pong comment si Sir TG. Baka po gustong mag-share ni Sir TG. Kasi meron po yata ini-implement na program ang DepEd for the next 3 years for learning loss. Sir TG, go ahead po. Sir TG, Argel.
Hello po.
Hi,
Naririnig
sir.
po ako?
Naririnig po.
Yes,
Go ahead
sir.
po.
Hello, sir.
Pasensya na po, nasa labas po kasi ako. Bali po yung sinasabi ko, it is about the learning recovery program po ng DepEd, wherein it focuses on the reading skills and numeracy na in-implement na po this year. So bali nagkaroon po kami ng paggawa ng action plan na hanggang po 2025 po siya. Tapos mag-aalat po kami ng 1 or 2 days sa isang linggo na kung saan yung mga recipient ng recovery plan po na ito. Bali nag-conduct na po kami ng pre-assessment bago po mag-start yung school year. Tapos yung mga bata po na mag-undergo doon, sila po yung a-attend ng 1 to 2 days learning recovery program ng DepEd po. So yun.
Sir, are you referring to lower grades po? Like grade 1, 2, 3? Ganun po ba yun? Or higher year po?
Actually po, ang hawak ko po ngayon ay high school po.
High school. Okay.
That's po.
Noted, Sir TG. Thank you po for sharing. Doc Mia.
Thank you very much, sir. That's a good move for DepEd po. Knowing na meron po tayong problema, nagka-problema rin po tayo because of the pandemic. Yes po.
Meron pa po ba tayong gustong i-share or tanong for Doc Mia? Doc Mia will be back with us on Sunday for another exciting topic po, yung everyday math, no? And how we can apply math to different areas of subject areas and practical math. So yun po yung topic ni Doc Mia on Sunday. So ito po mas magagamit pa natin to make to enrich our lessons in class. Do we have any more questions po in sharing? Wala na po.
Ma'am, si Sir
Oh,
TG yata. Sir TG.
may additional pa po, Sir TG?
Yes po ma'am, I
Yes
just want
po.
to add po, sa division din po kasi namin, meron po kaming tinatawag na e-comics na kung saan in-integrate po namin siya sa mga iba't ibang major subjects. Tulad po nung sa akin, humahawak po ako ng math and I crafted an e-comics po which is naka-align po siya sa MELCS. More specifically po, ang ginawa ko po ay patungkol dun sa triangle inequality. Ang title po ng comics na ginawa ko ay yung Ang Tadhana ni Rio Trio, wherein at the same time na-develop din po yung reading skills and comprehension ng mga bata at natatarget din po yung MELCS. Sa mga ibang subjects din po, actually marami na po kaming nagawa ng mga e-comics na way din po ng DepEd dito po sa division namin na i-develop yung reading skills at the same time, ma-target po yung mga MELCS.
Thank you,
Oh,
Sir
that's-
TG.
That's very nice, sir. Publish na yan. I-publish na natin, sir.
Ang ganda ng strategy nila, ano, ma'am. Yung,
Oh,
I think this is a good practice po that can be adapted by other divisions and other schools as well. Yung pinag-merge po nila yung mga subject. Like, if it's math, it's not only pure numbers, but also integrated to other subject areas. So, ang ganda po ng initiative nila.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Meron pa po ba tayong questions? Wala na po ako nakikitang raise hand or chat box. Maybe final words, Doc Mia, for this particular topic po, yung ating OBE and learner-centered approach.
Okay po. In summary po, no? Summary, ang uso na po talaga. That's the trend now. We make use of learner-centered approach or student-centered approach. And it's actually aligned with OBE. Even in, yun nga po yung sabi ko kanina, in the Pacific, yung sa Micronesia, they are already implementing or they have already been using OBE from K to 12 po. No? Hindi lang po college, hindi na lang po sa universities, pati na rin po sa lower levels. Yan. So maybe since we are already using MELC, which is equivalent din naman po sa OBE, except OBE is much more detailed, we have already started. I can say na hindi na po bago sa atin ang OBE. Yes po.
Thank you, Doc
Yes.
Mia. So, in short, hindi naman tayo na pag-iiwanan internationally,
naman.
Doc Mia.
Hindi
Okay,
naman.
that's good to know, no? Kasi may ibang nagsasabi na parang nandito na tayo sa meron tayong crisis in education. And I think no, the efforts naman of DepEd as well as our teachers on the ground level ay ina-address itong crisis na to kung meron man talagang crisis, which was, I think, pinalala nung ngang ating pandemic where there was
Yes,
no
ma'am.
face-to-face classes. So I think that was really the clincher there. Kaya nagkaroon tayo ng maraming issues because of the lack of face-to-face
Yes, ma'am. And
classes.
we acknowledge po yung creativity rin po, tsaka
Yes,
yung
that's true.
pagiging
Resourcefulness.
resourceful ng
Yes.
ating mga teachers. Na yun nga po, doon po tayo mabibilib sa mga Pilipino, no? Our teachers sa Philippines, kasi po despite the pandemic at saka yung mga problema po natin, okay pa po tayo. Yung sinasabi po nila na tayo na po yung hindi po totoo yun. Hindi po totoo because a lot of other countries din po, like India for example, na sa India po talaga huminto po yung for like almost a year, almost a year din po. Tayo tuloy-tuloy tayo eh. Sa kanila po huminto sila ng 1 year. 1 year sa elementary and high school in some parts of India. Yan po.
So at least po now, I think not only the Philippines, but the rest of the world, nagko-cope na
Yes.
rin, no, with
Yes, ma'am.
with the
That's correct.
changes. Okay. So I think we can end our session, our synchronous session for this afternoon. Thank you very much, Doc Mia, for this afternoon's session. And thank you, dear teachers, also for participating this afternoon. Very active po tayo sa ating engagement with Doc Mia. So kung in case po meron pa tayong maisip ng mga questions for Doc Mia for this session, we will have her back on Sunday with another engaging session. Thank you very much, Doc Mia. Good
Yes,
afternoon
ma'am.
po.
See you on Sunday po. Bye.
Sige po. Bye-bye, Doc Mia. Dear teachers, a few reminders lang po as we end our synchronous session this afternoon. So hindi pa po dito natatapos ang ating activity. We move on to our asynchronous session. Like when I introduced session 1 this afternoon, there are tasks that we have to accomplish after this session. So hindi naman po kailangan na agad-agad ay gawin natin. Basta ang importante po is by Sunday, we are ready to submit the 4 assessment tasks for each session. So session 1 po, let me repeat, no, which is also in your assessment tool. We need to respond to these questions. What are the challenges and successes of using OBE or yung learner-centered approach natin sa ating classroom? So challenges, this can be issues, this can be problems, this can be the things which hindered successful learning. So yung mga learning loss, dyan po yan pasok. So ikwento lang po natin very briefly. Okay? And another question is, what strategies can you do to make your lessons more learner-centered? So pwede po natin, we can pick up on best practices shared also by our fellow participants from this afternoon. And maybe you can present it to your own school or to your own division and introduce a similar program to help our learners who are lagging behind, no, yung pong mga non-readers, non-numerates, pwede po natin silang tulungan. So we can adapt strategies that we have learned from this afternoon. So thank you very much po. Other reminders po, yung mga hindi pa po nag-accomplish ng attendance. So nandun po yun sa ating FB group page. Those who'd like to be members, so ang cut-off po natin ng membership is up to Saturday at 5 p.m. po. If you would like the certificates and the IDs to be sent together with your certificates for this program. So Saturday, 5 p.m. po yung ating cut-off. For Doc Mia's presentation this afternoon, as promised po, I will upload it on our FB group page in a while po. So i-upload ko po lahat doon. Maraming salamat po sa lahat for attending this afternoon. We move on to our asynchronous session. See you again tomorrow po. Ang session po natin is 8:30 in the morning with Doc Debbie Versosa. So maraming salamat po. See you tomorrow po, 8:30. Yes, thank you po everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Sorry po, walang music. Wala yung assistant natin. Sige po. Thank you po.